Well, meet one of my very favorite guests that I've had on for my weekend show, and that's Seamus Bruner. He's got a new book. It's got the official title of Controligarchs, Exposing the Billionaire Class, Their Secret Deals, and the Globalist Plot to Dominate Your Life. Now, that's a pretty big mouthful, Seamus, but the book is a treasure chest of startling information. So glad to have you come back in and talk about it. And I want to get underway by helping our audience understand that by trade, you are an investigative reporter. You work with the Government Accountability Institute, a non-governmental watchdog. And that means that you don't just have a feeling about people. You dive into data and facts and report what you find. You talk about a lot of powerful people in your book. Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, and Jeff Bezos of Amazon, to pick a few. Now, these folks all have well-polished public images, sculptured by experts. But Seamus, you kind of dig beyond the exterior. So explain what you do in trying to find out who are these people.
Yeah, that's right, Governor. It's great to be with you again. I work with a gentleman named Peter Schweizer. Some of your viewers may have heard of him. And our job at the Government Accountability Institute is to follow the money. We followed it to the Bidens, the Clintons, various government agencies, and how they're misusing our taxpayer money. But for this book, Controligarchs, I really wanted to follow the money all the way to the top. A lot of people got the feeling during Biden's term that he wasn't the one calling the shots. And sure enough, you look at people like Bill Gates during the pandemic. He was basically the one who wrote the script that Anthony Fauci was reading from. And Mark Zuckerberg, he donated, as many people know, $400 million. A lot of people argue that Mark Zuckerberg is the reason that Joe Biden was named president in 2020. And then, of course, George Soros is a major character, Jeff Bezos. All of these controligarchs, as I call them, they are giving massive amounts of money to the government, to politicians, to get their way. And so what is their agenda? I sum it up in one word: they want to control. And you mentioned the information, the data that they are brokering. Why would they want to know what your TV preferences are? They want to know a whole lot more than that. They want to know what temperature you're keeping your house with the smart thermostats that Amazon puts out, and the Ring doorbell camera. They want to know what you're talking about. And all of this is to nudge you in a direction that you may not want to go.
You know, a lot of people bought the electronic devices through Amazon called Alexa. And it sounds like, oh, what a wonderful thing. Alexa, what's the weather today? Alexa, what is the state capital of North Dakota? And Alexa would answer. But what people weren't realizing is that old Alexa was listening to every single thing going on in your house. And people suddenly started saying, maybe I don't want somebody listening to every single thing in my house. How do people shake off from these intrusive electronic devices, maybe who are innocently using them, not realizing that everything they say and do is being recorded, not necessarily for their own good?
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, I myself am, have succumbed to the convenience from time to time of Amazon and all of these apps and websites and services. It's sort of like slipping into a warm bubble bath of tyranny. What you really need to do is one by one cut these things out of your life. You need to find local is really the solution to these globalist caused problems. You need to find local things you can buy, support local farmers markets. I mean, I know it seems sort of small, but the less money that you give to Amazon and the other controligarch entities, the more we can take back our lives.
So what does Amazon, for example, do with the information they collect on us? If they see that I'm looking at a particular type of mixer or a particular type of maybe brand of detergent, I mean, who cares? Why would they want that information? How can they use it that at some point might have a nefarious purpose?
Yeah, well, so initially, I mean, you're right. And this is what I found time and again. Most of the data they collect is sort of innocuous. I mean, we all sort of have come to expect that it's for marketing purposes. So if you Google, new car, now you're starting to get advertisements for new cars, and the same for the detergent and everything else. And that would, that's a little bit of an invasion of privacy, but it is what it is. We've all come to accept it. But really what the end goal is, and I talk about this towards the end of the book, the end game of all of this data collection is it's to steer you in various directions. You sort of get socially engineered, where some of the advertisements are for things that you don't want. And some of the content that you see, especially with Google and on the social platforms, you start seeing content that goes against your values. That's one, the social engineering. But number two, the whole point of this is for AI. I mean, AI has tremendous potential to do good things in healthcare and helping find cures for diseases, but it has tremendous power for bad things. And so as more and more of our data, it informs this sort of blob of artificial intelligence, the end goal, and these guys in Silicon Valley, they talk about it all the time, is to get to a system of a social credit score, much like they have in China. It seems shocking, but many of the Silicon Valley guys, they actually admire the system that China has, where you can kind of know everything about everybody with face scanners and all of that. And the ultimate end goal, this is according to Sam Altman of OpenAI, the maker of ChatGPT, it's one of the most prominent artificial intelligence companies, is to get to a universal basic income for people. How it works is artificial intelligence will result in major layoffs. You're already seeing them start happening now. And so then you end up with lots of unemployed people. Sooner or later, people are going to be asking for checks. And so you combine this heavy stuff, but you combine this universal basic income of people who no longer are useful to the workforce with the social credit score, and you have a total system of control. It's very scary stuff. And, it sounds like a dystopian future, but it is being built all around us right now.
Our guest is Seamus Bruner, and his book is called Controligarchs. When you're talking about this stuff, it's pretty frightening business. So I'm going to ask our audience, stay right where you are. Welcome back. We are visiting with Seamus Bruner, an investigative reporter who takes no prisoners. And his new book is one you should probably read if you're up to it, because it may scare the daylights out of you. It's called Controligarchs, all about the billionaires who manipulate men and money for astonishing returns. You mentioned briefly Bill Gates before in our earlier segment. There's something that maybe you can help explain. Bill Gates has been buying up massive amounts of land all through the United States, including buying up some land in my home state of Arkansas. Why is Bill Gates, who's all about high tech, why is he buying up farmland in places that he has never visited?
Yeah, it's a great question. I sort of stumbled across it by accident when I was reading up on the Microsoft antitrust trials from the late 90s. In those documents, those court records, I found that Bill Gates had a strategy while at Microsoft that he called Embrace, Extend, Extinguish. And it was a tech strategy, how to choke out the competition. He would enter into an industry, and the example in the antitrust suit, it was the internet browsing industry. He would create his own option, and then slowly he would extend his reach throughout and put it on every single computer, make it mandatory to have the Internet Explorer browser. And then the goal at the end was to extinguish the competition. Well, I've seen this playing out with him in the farming industry. First, he enters the agricultural space, and people wonder, what is Bill Gates doing in agriculture? And he says, oh, nothing to see here. I'm just a farmer now. He buys up more and more farmland to the point where he has over 250,000 acres all across the United States, and making him the largest individual farmland owner. And then he pushes for standards. He did the same thing with the browsers, where he pushes for changes, sort of like climate change regulations, things that make it harder and harder for those family-owned farms, which are going out of business left and right, to keep up with. But the key is he's already patented, and he did this with his software. He's an expert at using patents and copyright law. he's got patents on all kinds of crazy things like meats. This is why he simultaneously, once he started buying the farmland, started investing in various fertilizer companies and then pushing for regulations to put the classic fertilizers out of business. You just can't use the old fertilizers anymore. And Bill Gates has patents on the new fertilizers. He did this. He's invested in several, he calls them alternative protein companies. What they really are fake meats, lab-grown meats, things like Beyond Meats and Impossible Burgers and things that are even weirder than that. And then he pushes for regulations that are going to make it more expensive for cattle owners to turn a profit. You know, whenever you hear Congress people like AOC say that cow flatulence is bad for the environment, those talking points come from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation white papers that say the methane from cows, therefore we need to get rid of cows. And so at every step of the way, he's trying to make it harder and harder for family-owned farms to make a living and to stay in business. And meanwhile, he's growing these weird patented crops of the future.
I mean, it's truly disturbing that one person would want to control the entirety of our U.S. food supply. Basically, if not owning all of the food supply, being the biggest player so that whatever it is that he wants ends up becoming the absolute have-to-do kind of standard. And that should be subject to antitrust laws. How does he get away with this?
Oh, it absolutely should. I mean, he got away with it in the 90s. The antitrust suit settled. He learned his lesson, but he learned his lesson at how to do it in more nefarious ways. He sets up consortiums. So he's got various consortiums with acronyms that I won't bore the readers. They're all in the book. But he has all of these globalist consortiums, and they meet at the World Economic Forum, and they're doing it worldwide. This is why you saw the farmer protests all across Europe, is they're trying to put out of business the smallholder farms, the family-owned farms, in favor of these factory farms that Bill Gates, he's going to profit from immensely. Even if he doesn't own the farmland, he has the patents on a lot of the fertilizers and other growing technologies. He's got a massive investment in John Deere tractors. So he's diversifying his interests. And then he's, a funny thing about the John Deere, before Bill Gates, they didn't have to have a software update. Farmers used to be able to, tinker with and repair their own tractors. Now you've got to bring in your tractor to get it, get the latest software update. So that is definitely a Bill Gates invention, where you have to constantly pay for more and more updates and you can't fix things yourself. That is the MO of all of these controligarchs, is to put the small businesses out of business in favor of consolidating the market under their control.
Companies that will control the auto industry, one or two perhaps, the retail industry, another one that will control agriculture and our food supply. I mean, that's disturbing. But let's move to government for a moment. President Trump said he's going to work on draining the swamp. He's enlisted Vivek Ramaswamy, Elon Musk. Is it possible to actually challenge some of the bureaucracy and the practices of Washington? Or are we just being ridiculously, hopelessly hopeful?
No, I absolutely have faith that Donald Trump will achieve what he's promised to do, which is to get more government efficiency and to drain the swamp. And I believe that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, they are two men who know how to do it. When Elon fired a sizable portion of the Twitter workforce, profits went up, the user experience soared, and it's never been better. So Elon certainly knows a thing or two about making a more efficient platform, a more efficient bureaucracy. And then Vivek, he tweeted something that I was so encouraged by, and it's so true. He said that government efficiency is not just like a policy proposal pitched by Donald Trump. This is a government mandate as upheld by the Supreme Court of the United States. Last year, you may remember, viewers may remember, that the Supreme Court overturned something called the Chevron deference, which basically for 40 years, our government bureaucracies, the administrative state, have been ascribing themselves powers and privileges and all sorts of growth and waste and fraud and abuse. And that just ended last year. And so the time is right. The time is right to clean out these bureaucracies, to trim back with a chainsaw the administrative state. Now, there will be legal battles. Every single cut surely will result in some sort of a legal battle, but the war has already been won and the Supreme Court declared it. So that is very encouraging news.
Fascinating stuff. Seamus Bruner has been our guest, and his book is called Controligarchs. I think you might want to get it.